So good morning. This is Brother Ben. It's Tuesday. It's January the 25th. So let's have a look at our talk for today. The topic is going to be the harmony through the Dhamma. This is a beautiful subject that I think is going to relate to everyone. And we can get many benefits from that as well. Okay, so let's start our talk. And I hope everyone is sitting comfortably and patiently. If one is always mindful and understands how to do the right thing, one will have no regrets in life, dwelling in harmony. Good deeds benefit all. Bad deeds benefit no one and can bring harm to oneself, causing disharmony. A smile is the most harmonious language. We live in disordered times, complicated, distracted, and demanding. Yet to sustain a spiritual practice demands a steady attention. The first task then, in almost any spiritual voyage, is to quiet ourselves enough to listen to the voices of our hearts, to listen to that which is beyond our daily affairs. Whether in prayer or meditation, in visualization, fasting, chanting, reading or song, we need to step out of our usual roles, out of the busy days, living on automatic pilot. We need to find a way to become receptive and open. To recognize spiritual longing is not enough. The heart needs inspiration for renewal. It needs support to find forgiveness, to awaken to freedom, to open to grace. We must find a practice, an honorable practice, to carry us on this journey. Death is our eternal companion. It is always to our side, at an arm's length, so to speak. It has always been watching you close by. It always waits until the day it taps you on your shoulder, telling you it's your time. So reflect on your own death. If we do that, as a result, we won't waste time and energy on small, useless things if we sense the reality of death. When your understanding grows of the true nature of things, your values in life will also change. So you'll practice more, and this will help you to do well in life. And then we will join in the language of all people and be in harmony, smiling. A smile is the most harmonious language, remember. Everyone can learn to practice smiling and spreading joy more. Especially after all this solitude, we have reason to smile when we see people. Although solitude is a good thing for practice. Sayadaw U Jyotika writes, solitude should be cultivated, staying alone. I don't mean that we should avoid meeting with people, rather I mean we should spend time by ourselves. Mental solitude means not thinking about anything, but being alert and aware. Some people believe that when we are not thinking about anything, then we must be deeply asleep, or dull, or sleepy. People don't understand the importance of solitude. They want to be with someone who can give them some fun or stimulate them somehow. Craving for stimulation. When there is nothing to stimulate them, they become bored. Even when they are alone bodily, they read or watch TV, listen to music, or think about things they've done or about things they will do. Being alone, not reading or watching TV, listening to music and not thinking are things that they never thought of as productive. We are learning to open to the timeless unfolding of our lives, being in greater and greater harmony with what it is, with a greater inclusiveness of our hearts to all the seasons of our life. A short poem by Zen master Rayal. In the entire 10 directions of the Buddha's universe, there is only one way. When we see clearly, there is no difference in the teachings. What is there to lose? What is there to gain? If we gain something, it was there from the beginning. If we lose anything, it is hidden nearby. And now, a short story about the benefits of letting go, as you'll see. This is from Ajahn Brahm. Ajahn Brahm told a story about the need for letting go sometimes. Water buffaloes in old Thailand were part of the family. They would live in the space below a villager's house. They were usually so calm that kids could even safely go to sleep on their backs, while the buffaloes grazed lazily in the warm months of the Thai hot season. Sometimes, though, a water buffalo would get frightened for reasons only it knew. Raising its head with a snort, it would charge off in any direction. A local villager was taking his water buffalo to his fields to graze early one morning. And as he was passing the forest monastery, something in the jungle scared the buffalo. The buffalo raised his head and snorted. Foolishly, the villager tried to hold him back. He pulled on the thin rope. He pulled on the thin rope, which was tied loosely around the buffalo's neck. But the rope quickly wound around the villager's finger. Oh no, the buffalo charged off. And with it went the top of the man's finger. The poor man came directly into the monastery for help, with his hand covered in blood and half a finger missing. They took him to the hospital and had him patched up. He soon recovered, minus half a finger. Ajahn often uses that unfortunate tale as an example of what happens when we don't let go. Who is stronger after all, a man or his water buffalo? It doesn't make sense to hold on to a water buffalo when it's charging. Let it go. The buffalo only runs a few hundred meters and then stops by itself anyway. The farmer can calmly walk after it, take hold of the rope again, and lead it to the fields to graze. Too many people hold back what they should let go and lose too many fingers. Buddha made his teachings very, very clear. In extremes, we cling on very tightly. We don't let go. Extremes of pleasure, we get very attached. Extremes of displeasure, we get very attached. So the answer is the middle way. In Isipatana, during the first discourse, the turning of the wheel, he taught about the middle way between extremes. He taught monks, these two extremes should not be followed by one who started our practice. Which two? The pursuit of sensual pleasures, which are low and unbeneficial. And then the pursuit of excessive self-mortification, hurting and starving your body. Without going this way and that way, the Tathagata has awakened to the middle way, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to knowledge and leads to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nirvana. So what is the way? It is this noble eightfold path. That is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So speak kind words, think good thoughts, do good deeds, and walk the right path. Count me in when doing good deeds. Count me out when doing bad deeds. Save up money on snacks, and you can help the poor. Kind words are like pure flowers. Mean words are like poisonous snakes. When you say bad things about others, you are actually making yourself look bad. Listen to the Dhammapada. He abused me. He laughed at me. He struck me. Thus one thinks, and so long as one cherishes such thoughts, one's anger continues. Anger will never disappear so long as thoughts of resentment are cherished in the mind. Anger will disappear just as soon as thoughts of resentment are forgotten. If the roof is improperly made or in disrepair, the rain will leak into the house. So greed enters the mind that is improperly trained or out of control. It's the law of karma. When we plant rice, we do not expect a harvest of pepper. We do not make a fire in order to produce coolness. In everything in life, we find that if we know all the causes, then we can reliably predict the effects. For example, we know that we can never burn down the house with ice. It is the nature of fire to burn and destroy. Ice has a different nature and produces entirely different effects. The Buddha taught us that happiness and unhappiness are effects or results, just as a fire is a cause which produces heat as a result. If we lead selfish, ignorant, evil lives, we can expect only such results as go along with selfishness, ignorance, and evil. Bad acts always produce bad results. Good acts always have good results. Here's a story called The Deceitful Old Heron. There was an old heron who lived near the edge of a large fish pond. The heron, being old, was too lazy to find food, and so he thought of a trick that would help him get easy food. Herons are known for having a big sack of skin hanging under their long beaks, and they are seen carrying fish in this skin bag as they fly from here to there. It happened that a very large crab also lived in the pond. And while the heron was resting in the pond, thinking about the plan, the crab asked him why he was so quiet. The clever and cunning heron replied that he was very sorry that a fisherman would soon be catching all the fish inside the pond. This news reached the chief king of all the fish in the pond, who then went over and asked the heron what the solution to the problem should be. Well, the heron replied, the only way was to carry all the fish to another pond. The king fish thanked him for all the excellent answers and also added that he needed his help in carrying all the fish to that other pond. Well, the heron was hoping all the time for the king of the fish to say this, and immediately caught some fish up in his mouth, carried them off far away to a dry stone rock, and there ate them all up. This went on for several days until finally the large crab asked the heron to also carry him to the safety. As fishermen, they also like to catch large crabs. When they flew up and over and reached the stone rock, the crab saw a pile of fish bones, and he knew at once the trick. Aha! He then asked the heron to just put him down, and as soon as he was free, he caught hold of the heron's neck with his powerful claws and killed him after telling him that his wrongful acts had to be stopped. It can clearly be seen that all wrong actions will have bad results, thus proving the truth of the old saying, you will reap what you have sown. Sayadaw U Pandita, the great late master from Burma, is quoted in One Life's Journey as saying about harmony. To nourish harmony, sincere speech brings people together. Kind speech brings people together. Gentle speech brings people together. And also brief but direct and sweet speech brings people together. But there are causes for the disintegration of harmony, falling apart of harmony. Deceitful speech drives people apart. Slanderous speech drives people apart. Harsh speech drives people apart. Frivolous speech drives people apart. And here's a story from Ajahn Chah, and it's written by Jack Cornfield in the book, The Leaves Will Always Fall, the insight of Ajahn Chah. Every day or two is from a still forest pool, the chapter is called. The leaves will always fall. Every day or two, the open grounds and walkways of the monastery must be swept clear of the leaves that fall in every Asian season. For the large open areas, the monks will team up and with long-handled bamboo brooms extended, sweep like a dust storm, clearing all the leaves in their path. Sweeping is so satisfying. All the while, the forest continues to give its teaching. The leaves fall, the monks sweep, and yet, while the sweeping continues and the near end of a long path is being cleared, the monks can look back to the end they have already swept and see a new scattering of leaves starting to cover their work. Our leaves are like the breath, like the growing and falling leaves, says Ajahn Chah. We can sweep the paths every day and have great happiness in our lives on this changing earth. Master Cheng Yen says, human beings go through the stages of birth, aging, illness, and death, just like the seasonal changes of spring, summer, autumn, and winter in nature. There is a close connection between the two. Birth, aging, illness, and death are what all of us have to experience, like the seasonal changes. They go on in an endless cycle. Think of life in hospital. In hospitals, where everyone's ill, we meet people from all the walks of life, and everyone has his or her own life story. A Filipina I know, this is me, had an auntie in hospital. She had many conditions, as well as aging severely. My friend told me her auntie was very sad every night as she got more and more sick. When she said that they had already amputated her leg, I had hoped to help. Because today, there are quite surprising techniques with amputated limbs, which use a mirror. The mirror is placed next to the remaining healthy leg or arm. And the illusion to the brain is that the missing limb is actually there, as the appearance in the mirror is of two healthy legs or arms. But sorry to say that the other limb of the auntie was also extremely ill. It was of black and red. It almost was dead already. All that she would see would have been two very sick legs. So she would have remained also very unhappy still. She died not long after that. I guess the lesson was that we cannot outwit aging and sickness and death. Sometimes it's just time to pass on and reflect, maybe about rebirth, and have acceptance. It is a meditation to realize that we really will die and that we do not know when at all. Recently, my mother phoned me up in the nighttime from England. She told me that my younger brother in Australia had died during a fishing trip. He was with his two young daughters and two friends on his boat. But the boat had capsized upside down in a rough river of heavy waves where the river met the ocean. The two daughters and the two friends on the boat had actually made it safely to the shore and had survived. But my brother drowned, and drowning is a very painful death. I just hope that he knew that his daughters had actually got to the safety of the shore. Tzu Chi's Master Cheng Yen told a story about a volunteer from Taiwan, Mr. Wu. He used to be a fishing fanatic. He fished at all times and all places, besides the usual methods, which relied on baits and waiting patiently with your fishing rod in the water. Mr. Wu was very keen on catching fish just using large, bare hooks. Numerous extra large hooks are used. He would cast this fishing line into the water and swing the rod around, the hooks moving randomly in the water. Fish swimming nearby would become spiked on these moving hooks. As he reeled in the line, the fish would be struggling and blood would be flowing from their wounds. He saw there were many fish and he was satisfied. He ignored Buddhist warnings to stop. Then one day, while he was eating a fish bone got stuck in his throat. He tried medical and folk treatments. For 3 months, he went to 3 hospitals, saw 6 doctors to try to get the fish bone out. He decided against any kind of operation, and he started to reflect. It was just a tiny fish bone, and yet it had caused him tremendous pain and disrupted his life. What about the fish that he had caught? How must they have felt? He must have caused them a lot of pain and suffering. Feeling remorse for his cruel behavior, he vowed not to fish anymore. And incredibly, within a month after making the vow, the fish bone was gone. He was able to swallow solid food again without undergoing any medical treatment. Nowadays, instead of fishing, Mr. Wu is a vegetarian working on recycling projects to protect the environment. To progress in wisdom towards Nibbana, we must investigate the causes of our actions, the results of our actions, the causes of our suffering, and try to eliminate those causes. Ashin Tejaniya from Myanmar says in his book, Dhamma Everywhere, the 7 factors of enlightenment. What we need is Dhamma Vichaya. It's one of the causes in the 7 factors of enlightenment, the Bojjhangas. Dhamma Vichaya is investigating phenomena, investigating what is happening. Why is it happening? Or how are we practicing by using the information we have, our intelligence and our wisdom? The 7 factors of enlightenment are Sati, Dhamma Vichaya, Virya, Piti, Passaddhi, Samadhi, and Upekkha, meaning mindfulness, investigation, effort, joy, calm, focus, and balance. The first 3 of the 7 factors are causes, and the latter 4 are effects. We only need to cultivate the first 4. The last 3 are effects that then happen. So to repeat, what we need to cultivate are the causes. 1, sati, mindfulness. 2, Dhamma Vichaya, investigation of phenomena. 3, virya. So these are what we can work on. Also, sati, Dhamma Vichaya, virya, and samadhi. So these are what we can work on. The role of awareness, well, that's just gathering data and information. That happens at our senses. The answer will come when the data set is complete, but it can't arise when there is still some missing data. So we then raise the level of interest and curiosity in the mind by posing some questions. The solution will eventually come to you when you have enough data for the problem in hand. In her book, Still Thoughts, Volume 2, Master Cheng Yen writes, a family should not only seek a life of material plenty, but must also emphasize spiritual communication, so that everyone in the family can live in harmony. When a family is in harmony, even if it is materially poor, it can still be rich in joy. Material wealth does not make up for the agony of a family in disharmony. Venerable Master Xing Yun of Fo Guangshan describes a change of perspective. Rainstorms outside are bound to end sooner or later. But how do we appease the storms within our minds? Suttas state, dependent on causes and conditions. Nothing is solid or substantial, just as a candle in the wind or a bubble in the water. We cannot rely in the impermanent world, which is like flowers in a mirror or the moon in the water, to bring peace to our mind and body. Crying and smiling are 2 sides of the same coin. What matters is that change of thought. After the rain, as you complain about how difficult it is to walk on the muddy road, why not look up and see the starry night sky, which happens to be lighting up the plant beneath your feet? Kind deeds are like grass in the garden, whose growth may not seem obvious, but lengthens day by day. And unwholesome deeds are like a stone for sharpening knives on tools, whose decrease may not seem obvious, but becomes more and more blunt day by day. 2 ways to describe our right effort and right action are given here. The first, about leaving things alone. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone, said by Alan Watts. The Buddha in the Dhammapada describes effort as a bee gathering nectar does not harm or disturb the color and fragrance of the flower, so do the wise move through the world. The question arises how much we should be activist in the world and how assertive over others, advising them on how to do and what to do with their actions. Often we wish to criticize and advise others. Well, here's a sutta. There was once a pair of acrobats. The teacher, he was a poor but middle-aged man, and the student was a young lady by the name of Meda. These acrobats performed every day on the streets in order to earn enough to eat. Their act consisted of the teacher balancing a tall bamboo pole on his head, while the little girl climbed slowly to the top. Once to the top, she remained there while the teacher walked along the ground. Both performers had to maintain complete focus and balance in order to prevent any injury from occurring and to complete the performance. One day, the teacher said to the pupil, "Listen, Meda, I will watch you and you watch me so that we can, help each other, maintain concentration and balance and prevent an accident. Then we will surely earn enough to eat." But the little girl was wiser. She answered, "Dear master, I think it would be better for each of us to watch ourselves. To look after oneself means to look after both of us. That way, I'm sure we will avoid any accidents and earn enough to eat." So we need to learn to be independent. Zen humor shows this in these words. It has been said that in matters of religion, some people prefer to chew the menu rather than eat the food. Another Zen teacher's dog loved his evening run with his master. The dog would run ahead to fetch a stick, then run back, wag his tail, and wait for the next game. On this particular evening, the teacher invited one of his brightest students to join him. A young boy, so intelligent that he became troubled by the contradictions in Buddhist scriptures and rules. "Well," said the teacher, "you must understand that the words, they're only guideposts. Never let the words or symbols get in the way of truth. Here, let me show you." And with that, the teacher called his happy dog over. He said to the dog, "Fetch me the moon, fetch me the moon. Go on, fetch me the moon." And he pointed to the full moon in the distance. "Where is my dog looking?" asked the teacher of the bright pupil. "He's looking at your finger." "Exactly. Don't be like my dog. Don't confuse the pointing finger with the thing that is being pointed at. All our Buddhist words, they are only guideposts. Every man fights his way through other men's words to find his own truth." And that concludes today's talk. I hope you've benefited. So I hope you have maintained the harmony you already have, and that we can now move on to some questions and answers, and then a short blessing at the end. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya.